HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This segment of the news is brought to you by BTC, powered by Lime.
Good evening and welcome to the Bahamas Tonight. I'm Keishla Adderley. Thanks for joining us. A bloody weekend for officers of the police force as the country's murder count climbed by 2 in just 12 hours. Police told ZNS News a 61-year-old elderly man of Montrose Avenue and Ludlow Street was found lying on the floor of his apartment complex with a gunshot wound to the head around 10:30 Saturday night. Head of the Central Detective Unit, Superintendent Paul Roll, told ZNS News that robbery may have been the motive in this latest murder.
Investigation reveals that sometime during the night, last night, the deceased came home, and we believe at that time he was accosted and robbed and shot. His door to the apartment was discovered open today, and when neighbors were leaving, I noticed when they got back home this evening that the door was still open. They decided to make a check and then raise an alarm and call the police.
Meantime, police were called to the scene of another murder at 7 o'clock this morning near Flint and Taylor Streets. Superintendent Roll also told ZNS News that an unidentified man was found dead with multiple gunshot wounds about the body. Investigations into that homicide continue. The life of another man snuffed out this weekend after he was tragically killed on the streets of New Providence. Distraught family members who were on the scene identified this latest traffic victim as 31-year-old D'Amico Knowles. Police say shortly after midnight Sunday, a white BMW vehicle traveling west on West Bay Street collided with a blue Nissan Maxima vehicle, which was traveling east along Sandyport Beach and Resort Road. Now, Knowles was the passenger in that Maxima.
Maxima was spun out of control and the front seat passenger was ejected. EMS personnel arrived on scene and pronounced the passenger as deceased. The drivers of both vehicles were transported to PMH where they attending the doctors at the facility.
I know it's just purely speculation at this point, but anything that might have given you a clue as to what might have caused this?
But from preliminary, like I said, the one but being driver error and speed might have played a contributing factor to the accident.
And while investigations are ongoing, police have issued this all-familiar appeal to motorists.
Before that vehicle starts and moves, you must buckle up. Seatbelt is a must. The speed limit must be adhered to at all times. Speed, the non-usage of seatbelt are all contributing factors to the fatalities that we are seeing here in New Providence. And we are encouraging drivers to buckle up and drive alive.
Now to another tragic incident unfolding today. A 14-year-old boy is dead tonight following a drowning here in the capital. This incident took place just after 1 o'clock this afternoon. Police say the teenager was swimming with friends in an area known as Bonefish Pond off Cowpen Road West. Investigations are ongoing. An active multi-agency search and rescue is underway for 3 persons who went missing after their boat capsized in waters off Exuma on Friday. Now, according to reports, 23-year-old Lakira Adderley, her brother, 22-year-old Andy Adderley, and a 21-year-old Shaquille Adderley, along with a 5-year-old Kian Demerit, left Williamstown en route to Long Island on board a 15-foot Boston whaler around 4:20 Friday afternoon. 15 minutes later, the boat reportedly hit a wave, causing it to capsize and throwing the passengers overboard. Shaquille Adderley, one of the boat's occupants, was rescued by a passing boater early Saturday morning. However, the other 3 passengers haven't been found. Police Defense Force officers Basra and the U.S. Coast Guard, along with residents, have launched a vigorous search and rescue for the missing. We have word that the male found hanging on Friday is a Defense Force officer. He is leading mechanic Shinare Wilkinson. And now the Commodore of the Defense Force, Roderick Bowe, is extending condolences to the family, loved ones, and friends of leading mechanic Wilkinson on behalf of the officers, warrant officers, and Marines of the Defense Force. A statement from the Defense Force says Mechanic Wilkinson was a quiet, competent, and committed Marine who enlisted in the Defense Force as a member of New Entry 32 and Woman Entry 6, April 1997. He has served in numerous departments, including engineering, harbor patrol, and recently the supply department. On Friday afternoon, leading mechanic Wilkinson was found dead in his home. Minister of Foreign Affairs Fred Mitchell is preparing for talks geared toward reaching agreement over the Cuban migration issue. Several international meetings have been planned to address the matter. Minister Mitchell also held a press conference today, and he answered opposition criticism.
They're not the predominant group to illegally enter the Bahamas, but their abuse claims, asylum demands, and well-publicized protests of late pushed their petitions to the top of the diplomatic agenda. Now, Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell and designated technical groups will spend the next several days in talks about Cuban migration policy.
I leave for Washington tomorrow for meetings at our embassy there and at the State Department. I shall also visit the United Nations mission of the Bahamas in New York and then our consulate in Atlanta, and I'll meet with the staff of the consulate in Miami on Friday. The purpose of this is to brief all staff on the recent events, to introduce the new ambassadors, and to speak with the U.S. State Department about new proposals to deal with current issues. A negotiating team will leave the Bahamas as early as the coming weekend to meet with the Cuban authorities in Havana with a view to settling the modalities of how there can be a quicker turnaround of migrants to Cuba. And we expect that a new agreement will be in place shortly.
Meantime, Minister Mitchell met Sunday morning with the Prime Minister and a retired appeals court justice about settling the terms of reference which will guide the review of the alleged abuse investigation due to be completed within 30 days of that review. The facility at the heart of the allegations is also being addressed, which will mean the relocation of detainees.
The facility is being repaired, and in a few weeks, the Ministry of Health will be supervising an effort to sanitize and paint the existing dorms. This will require those who are detained at the detention center to be housed temporarily in the prison until the sanitation is done. We are seeking to ensure that these numbers are at a minimum.
And while he seeks a settlement on this matter, his criticism of the opposition lingers. Minister Mitchell called opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis on the Free National Movement's record as it relates to disclosures linked to the detention center.
If he is so enamored of public disclosure, he must explain to us why Amnesty International was able to allege on the 20th of August this year that the report of an investigation by the then FNM government in 2009 into events at the detention center was never made public. Dr. Minnis was a cabinet minister at the time.
Now, Minister Mitchell says it's his view that that report should be made public, but that will be up to Cabinet. Meantime, Foreign Affairs is also focused on settling diplomatic postings. The last outstanding appointment is an ambassador to China. A high-level HIV and AIDS conference is underway here in the capital. Representatives from more than 20 nations have gathered at Super Club's Breezes for the joint International HIV and AIDS workshop. About 115 foreign delegates have joined 85 Bahamians for 5 days of sessions looking at quality laboratory diagnostics, treatment, and care for the Caribbean HIV population. Participants will share their experiences and successes in stabilizing the HIV epidemic in the Caribbean. And still ahead in the Bahamas tonight, it's 1 week and counting what's being done ahead of the start of school. We'll tell you coming up.